we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Bzzz. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
And I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast, Joel. Welcome to a monumental day in Joel the Podcast history.
Absolutely
Episode
monumental.
78 of Joel the Podcast. And it is our 2-year anniversary.
That's so weird. I know we just spent all of this time specifically preparing for this.
Uh-huh.
But it's still surprising that we've been making a podcast for 2 years.
Imagine going back in time to 2 years ago today in that bowling alley and being like, yeah, by the way, I know you're making this podcast as a joke, but you're still going to be doing this in 2 years.
Yeah, wow. What a world we live in.
Indeed. I wanted to start off this monumental podcast by letting everyone know that Nathan does not owe me $1.
However, due to the recent inaugural speech of Joe Biden, which by my count lasted about 21 minutes, Alex does owe me $1 because I predicted that he would speak for, I think, 35 minutes, if I remember right.
Right, and I predicted for over an hour.
Yeah.
So I was watching the feed, and I heard them say that the speech was going to be between 20 and 30 minutes, and I was like, rip. So, congratulations on your bet winning. I'll be sure to pay you the $1 at some point.
Yep.
But not now, because now we move on to sports, and if all of our listeners remember last week, we said we were going to spend no more than 1 minute on sports this week. And we discussed it beforehand, so we don't have to use all of our commentary, but we don't have that many things to say, so I think we can probably give a little commentary. So I'm setting a timer for 1 minute, and when this goes off, we're going to stop talking about sports. So here we go. First item on the agenda is Tom Brady makes it to his 10th Super Bowl.
That's ridiculous. I didn't realize he was in 10 Super Bowls.
And he now, with his 3 road playoff wins this year, he now has as many road playoff wins as AFC legend Joe Flacco.
All right. And
Tampa Bay will become the first team to play in a Super Bowl in their home stadium.
Yeah, fun fact.
And then our other news is Purdue receives 11 votes in the AP poll this week.
Well deserved,
after
I think.
Winning on the road at Ohio State and losing at home versus Michigan. And Nathan and I have made predictions that Nathan predicts that Purdue will finish 17-9, and I'm predicting they will finish 16-10. So we'll see where that goes. Any last 5-second comment?
I think both of those are pretty pessimistic, but, I'm not ready to get too excited yet, so we'll see how it goes.
Indeed. All right, that is the end of sports. Our Sports Minute. So if you like that, let us know, or not, also let us know. And we move on.
From my perspective, that was an interesting experience. I think the introduction to the Sports Minute took about as long as the Sports Minute itself, so...
Right.
Although still a time save from our typical sports ramblings.
In the future, we won't have to introduce it if we do it regularly. It's just since this was the first time.
Maybe that's a running joke that our Sports Minute introduction just keeps getting longer and longer. We talk for a minute about sports, but there's like a 15-minute analysis on what our 1 minute is going to be beforehand.
We need a literal 1 minute long scripted intro bit to the Sports Minute.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that. All right.
That's not a terrible idea.
Next, let's talk about the email.
It is a terrible idea, but
it is a terrible idea. Well, it's not a terrible idea. It's just a bad idea.
Okay. Fair enough.
Let's talk about the email we received in the past week.
All right, so we did get one email. It comes to us once again from Cephalopod Master. The subject line of this email is "I am a dumbass," and really, I just have to say before we jump into it, there's nothing more fitting to feature on our 2-year anniversary episode than an email from Cephalopodmaster entitled "I am a dumbass." That's one of the podcast classics. So
well done, Cephalopod, for this and every other email that you've sent with this quality subject line.
Yeah, thanks for being such a regular contributor. That being said, let's get into this. He says, "You asked whether it was more interesting to hear whether someone owes $1 or doesn't, and I think it's more interesting to hear someone owing the other $1 because there's suspense."
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of my thinking initially, right? Like, I didn't have any evidence for this, but I thought that this might be the case.
Right. I mean, the thing is, I don't feel like there's much suspense about whether the person will pay the other person $1. Like, we always pay the $1.
Yeah.
So,
I guess, I don't know, I guess sometimes it's just interesting to hear whether or not we remembered to pay.
Right. So, all right, well, thanks for the feedback, Cephalopod.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to keep the bets flowing.
And also forgetting to pay, because obviously that's,
that's more interesting.
Wouldn't be Joel the podcast without absolute minimum effort from either of us.
Yes. All right, go on.
Going on. I want to add 2 more favorite episodes. We're episode 50, Apple Heist, for example, at 45 minutes, 45 seconds, and episode 43, How to Kill Chickens, for example, at 57:25. Also in episode 77 at 11:52, Alex really nailed explaining how he said the website name without having to conspicuously pause to breathe. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
I think we acknowledged that in the episode itself, too. That reminds me, did you actually say that this was episode 78 at the beginning?
I did say that,
Okay.
yes.
I just, apparently I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking beforehand, like, we haven't mentioned what episode it was, and wonder, having literally just listened to all of the other episodes from the past year, will we know what number this one is? And
right.
Apparently the answer is yes, but I didn't even notice. So.
And after listening to myself struggle to come up with the episode number for like many times, I really am going to try to make a concerted effort to know what episode we're on before that podcast starts this next year.
Well, there goes about 50% of my intro jokes, but okay.
I mean, I can not put in any effort in if it's funnier. It's just, I cringe listening to myself not know a basic episode number.
All right.
Especially when I, the listener, can just look on the screen and see, oh, it's episode 68.
Yeah, it's literally
what
right
a dumbass.
There. And, yeah. All right, so there is a little more to this email yet. So
go on.
Cephalopod Master says, "I believe I've found the hidden Easter egg. Please see attachment." And he attaches a zoomed-in image to the email, which is, in fact, the Easter egg. I'm not going to, reveal anything about it just in case there are any other listeners, but he did find it.
Nicely done, Cephalopod.
He says, "My address is..."
We are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast.
Which is a great joke.
Right.
Apparently we're neighbors then.
Yeah.
And then he says...
He probably lives in your old apartment.
He moved in after I left. That's probably it. He's probably been following me around like one house behind. Every time I move, he's moved into the place I left.
Right.
So that's neat. End of the email. Lastly, I formally request Nathan to spend an hour working on the catapult. Noted. I will.
All right. All right, so thanks for the email, Cephalopod. As always, we appreciate it. So let's get into our 2-year anniversary episode.
Yeah.
excuse me. So, if any of our listeners remember, at the end of our last episode, our last 1 year anniversary episode,
By
we
last
made
episode, I mean 38 episodes ago.
Yeah,
or whatever
I
it
mean
is.
everyone knows what I mean.
48 episodes ago?
37 episodes ago, we made 47. This is 78, that was 31, so 47
There you
ago.
go.
So we made some predictions about what would happen in the coming year of Joel the Podcast. And so we're going to talk about those now and evaluate how we did.
Yeah.
So our first prediction was that we would have Cephalopod Master on the podcast, which we did multiple times. Thank you for coming on, Cephalopod. Yeah, I don't really have anything additional to say about that. Do you want to alternate, like, so you say the next one?
Sure. Yeah, we obviously prepared for this.
Yep.
So our next prediction was that we would have another live show. Actually, this was your next prediction. These first several come from you.
Right.
Which, of course, we did. We had a live show. Joel was there. We'll talk more about that later. Unfortunately, I think it's one of our worst episodes in the recent memory, due mostly to audio quality.
Yep. We recorded on the microphone, right?
No, we ended up recording on my phone because we...
Huh.
I wonder if that means that this episode is going to be trash.
We've always got the Skype recording.
Okay. We'll power through.
I think that would only be appropriate for this episode to be total garbage. All right.
No. Oh no.
At least the clips will be clear.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, our third prediction was that we would. This was barely a prediction, but that we would continue podcasting throughout the entire year, which we did.
Here we are.
No surprise there.
1 year later, yeah. Yeah, no, not really a surprise. You're right. So, our next, actually, this was my first prediction of the episode. Or, maybe not a prediction so much as kind of a goal.
Right, this was more of a goal and kind of more of a joke goal, I think. I don't think anyone seriously thought this would happen.
Yeah, we were really shooting for our 2-year special, which is this episode, to roughly coincide with our 1 million subscriber episode, to cut down on the extra work we would have to do to make it a bit more special. Here we are at the 2-year special. We did the requisite amount of work. We're still about 1 million subscribers short of 1 million subscribers. Within a very small rounding error, but I think we'll get there soon enough. Unfortunately, we didn't quite hit the target today. So
yeah, I agree. I think it's within the margin of error, so we can almost give ourselves credit for that.
Yeah, pretty close, but no.
And my bold prediction of the episode was that we would reach, at the time we had 12 subscribers, 10 of whom were not us. I predicted we would reach 20 subscribers, and in fact we did. We now have 24 subscribers.
Yeah,
which is exciting.
Until like a week or two ago, I think for the longest time we had 23 subscribers. So
yes, so if you recently subscribed to this podcast, send us an email, which can be found at our website, alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website.
That was so professional.
Thank you. I'm an old hat at this by now. We'll have to come up with something more ridiculous soon.
Yes. Well,
all right.
Who knows what the next year will bring? Surely something more ridiculous than that. All right.
Oh, we forgot to add the index.html.
Oh, .index.html.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also not .index. That was the wrong thing. Anyway, that's kind of the end of our successful predictions.
Right. That was really the end of my predictions, and then we started your predictions.
Ouch. Wow. All right. Well, here we go. I think at least these next couple are not necessarily our fault. So I predicted that we would have more than one live show. And maybe we would have, maybe we wouldn't have, but I think it certainly was definitely not possible given the circumstances of the past year. So
I think it's likely that we would have had it had there not been a giant pandemic that prevented anyone from traveling or getting together. So
yeah. So yeah, really just we got to blame COVID for that one. Obviously, we would have done it given the opportunity.
Right. And as kind of a corollary to that prediction, you also predicted that we would have a live show somewhere other than my location, your location, or Purdue, which again we were unable to accomplish due to COVID. But I'm just going to chalk this up as a near victory or a mental victory, since in my mind, we would have done it.
Yeah. And then finally, the last prediction of the episode was that, as kind of a stretch goal, we thought that we might. Well, I don't know if you ever actually thought prediction. This. This was my bold prediction. I thought that we had an outside chance to hit 50 subscribers, which wasn't that crazy given our rate of growth at that time. But we've kind of, I feel like we've kind of plateaued after a little while, and so as you said a minute ago, we currently have 24 subscribers. Which is pretty good. Pretty good. I wouldn't have it any other way, except for much higher.
Yes. So, all right. So that's those are our predictions. Let us know what you thought of those, and as to how well we did, which was, I guess, about 50%. But most of that wasn't our fault. So now we move into we're going to talk about our podcast for a little bit.
Yeah. There's one thing we don't talk about enough on this podcast. It's us and our podcast.
Yeah. I feel like we're pretty humble and almost never talk about ourselves. So let's pat ourselves on the back for a bit. Yeah. So first thing to mention, I think, is the most monumental part of the past year was the new website that you created. As I mentioned before, alexandalex@joelthepodcast.github.io/alexandalex@joelthepodcast.website/index.html.
Nice.
And I would say that, this has really revolutionized the listener experience.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we haven't received any strong feedback one way or another that I can remember off the top of my head. If I am forgetting something, it's probably extremely positive. But I would say that I can only imagine that the listener response has been to essentially only go to our podcast for all of our podcast website, that is, for all of their internet needs. So
right. Yeah. So
like you said, good job to me for making.
Good job to you on that.
And
also this year, I believe started and ended. No, we didn't start it this year. But we did end having Olive Garden quotes. Really went out on a low note. No need to mention what that note was because it was pretty low.
I think it served its purpose as kind of the long running gimmick of the podcast. I haven't missed it. How about you?
Nope. I felt like it was a chore every time we did it, pretty much.
The problem was we just never remembered to do it. I think it could have been like halfway decent if we had spent 5 minutes before the episode to like come up with something.
Uh-huh.
But I think also if we had done that, it would have been less relevant to the podcast, which, might not have been as good at the same time. So, what do we know? Pretty much
everything, since we're extremely qualified in most topics, but I would say that in this we made a mistake. All right.
We also had some other recurring podcast topics that appeared in the past year that I think we've had a lot of success with. I think overall, so just kind of in general, I think our episode quality has gone up in the past year. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
And I think a lot of that is due to the fact that basically the absolute floor of how badly we can do in an episode has kind of increased, gotten better, because we can just kind of default to playing Joel the game, which was, created within the past year, and
Right.
And has been hugely successful ever since. Or some of our other recurring topics like giving advice to people like Snowy Woodson and Water Bottle and 524. All of our
And
favorite
don't forget
listeners.
Benjamin Franklin.
Oh yeah, how could I forget Benjamin Franklin? What an iconic name that you came up with on the spot. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Kind of in the
Yeah.
same vein, we would give advice to people on Quora. I think that was pretty fun. Kind of
Yeah,
a mixed bag
especially-
what the content is like there, because those people aren't necessarily all podcast listeners. So
I really enjoyed making fun of people with PhDs in mathematics answering questions about how to multiply two fractions together. So I think we've I agree with your assessment that we've increased the floor of our quality, and although I don't think we've necessarily increased the number of laugh out loud moments that we have in our episodes, I think our podcast is an interesting listen for an hour or hour and a half, depending upon how we're feeling on the day. And I think another, positive thing we've done this year was start making more predictions. And although I would say that they've not all gone extremely well for us, in listening back to some of these predictions that we made, it comes to mind that I predicted that not only did I predict that the Buccaneers would do worse than the Patriots this season, which they're in the Super Bowl and the Patriots didn't even make the playoffs.
yeah,
But also I said that it wasn't even that interesting of a prediction to make because of how much better the Patriots were than the Buccaneers. So really bad job for me on that one.
yeah. Speaking of absolutely scorching hot takes, pretty much everything we said about COVID in the first couple weeks that we were talking about COVID is just hilarious to listen to now, 10 months later, as we're still, essentially in quarantine, working from home, pandemic still going on. I mean, we've made some good progress. There's a vaccine now, but it's not widely available yet, necessarily for everyone. But I mean, we were talking about it'll be, August, September. Things will pretty much be back to normal by then.
Yeah, we thought things would be getting back to
sports will
normal in
resume.
September and that.
I remember
but-
in particular, I was really hesitant to even consider the possibility that the NFL would play without a crowd.
Right.
And,
What's wild to me is that we predicted that things would be getting back to normal in September or so, which was obviously very wrong.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we predicted that the NHL and NBA playoffs would not happen this year due to coronavirus. We were wrong on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, just some really weird inconsistency with our thought process there. It just goes to show you that even world-renowned experts such as ourselves don't always get it right when it comes to basically the first global pandemic in about 100 years. So
Right.
just remember that when you're typing up I can just feel the energy of millions of people right now typing emails that we are dumbasses for not knowing about COVID. But what did
You
you
probably
think
didn't
about
either,
COVID
so-
in March? I mean, come on.
Yeah, you probably didn't know how long it would be either, so just chill out.
Yeah, take it easy.
Yes. And I think one final, or maybe not final, but one of the other highlights of this year was the guests we had on the podcast. As we mentioned before, we had Cephalopod Master on the podcast for the first time. We had Shelby on the podcast one or two times. I think, and we even had Joel himself on the podcast, even though that episode did not turn out that great. I think
No.
it's really great when we're able to have guests, and yeah, so if anyone wants to be on the podcast, again, send us an email.
Yeah, I think coming up here in a couple months, we might really start to increase the amount that Shelby is featured again. She'll be back in Madison. Oh, whoops. I'll just play the entire theme song in
Yeah,
that instant.
she'll be
there.
back in We Are Mildly.
Oh, okay. That brings up something that I was thinking about, and we could just shut this down immediately. This discussion doesn't have to go anywhere. But I've been thinking that we have had the same theme song for over a year now, and it's very good. I like it a lot, but I wonder if we could. I don't know if we want to like remix it, or I don't know what we could do to just get to the next level of theme song greatness. I think I was inspired last week by our talking about making a musical, and there was like a brief moment there where we were thinking about like writing the opening number and then a reprise, and that would just be like this massive project that would take months.
Right.
But we have created music in the past, and I think it's a lot of fun to do so. So
I agree. I think while our I honestly would say that our theme song is a good song, and it's only fine as a theme song. I think we should challenge ourselves to come up with something that's a good theme song.
yeah,
And we'll see what we can do. So maybe this will be like the guitar thing, and we'll just forget about it the minute we stop
we'll
podcasting.
never mention this again.
Never mention it again. But if you would like to hear a new theme song, send us an email.
Yeah.
All right. I would say that there's one more thing we need to talk about before we get into the top 10 list that we didn't plan for, but we did plan for yesterday, which is the releasing of our first ever Joel the Podcast sketch.
Yes. So this is, I think we have alluded to this in the past, but this is a project that we worked on while Alex was here in my undisclosed location in person.
Right.
Was it? I mean, it was the same time that you've only been here once, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Why am I so
Joel,
confused about that timeline? Joel left early, didn't he?
Joel left on Sunday night, and
Okay.
I left on Monday morning. So
okay, so we had
a short
time
period to film after Joel left, which we did.
Right.
So today, live on the podcast, we will be releasing this sketch to the world. Alex and Alex Fantasy Team, I believe, is the title.
Yep. I mean, it'll be something along those lines.
And so this will be pretty exciting. So watch. I mean, presumably by the time this is out, you've already watched the sketch. So send us an email. Let us know what you think. Because we thought it was at least good enough to post on a public website. So
yeah, I mean, as far as first attempts go, I'd say it was pretty respectable. There was
right.
Certainly some
there's room for improvement,
right.
obviously, but I would say
it was fun to do. We had a good time, so whatever.
And there's a lot of bloopers that will hopefully eventually get the chance to release them in their entirety.
The real quality content that came out of this endeavor was just the 15 solid minutes of us messing everything up.
It's 15 minutes of me trying to say a single line over and over again. Okay, so give that a listen. Do you have that pulled up to release now?
I am literally. I didn't stage it up as we discussed, but it's a 5-minute. Oh no, our thumbnail file is bigger than 2 megabytes, so Google won't let me upload it. Let me go and crank that quality down.
By the way, the thumbnail is very funny, and all that credit goes to Nathan for that thumbnail.
It's probably the best part of the entire sketch.
It's number
opinion.
2 to the bloopers at the end.
That's
so.
okay. Yeah, fair enough. So, yeah, like our podcast, it was mostly pretty entertaining, but definitely has some key highlights to focus on. So,
Yes.
this will be, in the process of releasing live on the podcast. We're just going to go ahead and pretend that that's happening right now.
We're releasing it in 3, 2, 1. Woo!
It's uploaded.
Released.
Happy New Year.
Well done.
All
yeah.
right.
So, send us your feedback and keep in mind that we are not professional comedy writers, so take it easy. All right. Let's finally get into our highlights.
Let's do it.
Which I know everyone has been waiting to hear. So, for the first time this year, as you heard in the email, and we've received previous emails with highlights suggested by Cephalopod, we have fan-nominated suggestions, and so we're going to start off the top 10 by picking our favorite of those and making this the fans' honorable mention, or really just Cephalopod's honorable mention, since no one else ever emails us. This is a clip from episode 43, entitled "How to Kill Chickens," and it is about how to kill chickens. So I'm just gonna share my screen with Nathan so that he can hear this as I play it, and here we go.
Have someone else hold the chicken upside down to calm it. That calms them? What? Wait a minute.
How is this different from the previous idea?
Well, so instead of holding the chicken upside down to calm it and slowly slicing its neck, you instead hold the chicken upside down to calm it, then quickly lay it down on the chopping block and axe its head off. As opposed to what I thought you should do in this situation, which is hold the chicken upside down to calm it down and take a baseball bat swing at it with the axe in an attempt
if you're
cut
already
its head
holding
off
the chicken upside down, just
/stun it.
bash its head against the ground several times.
That's true. If you've got the chicken by the legs, you can probably just swing it around and hit it on stuff. It may not have the desired calming effect at that point, but
I mean, at that point, the chicken's probably dead.
it's probably dead. So
hilarious. Thank you for the
right.
suggestion. Thank you for your suggestion, Cephalopod. We do appreciate it. So there is fan honorable mention for top 10 clips. So, any comments about that clip before we go into the others?
No.
All right, great. Here is our number 10 clip. Comes from episode 62, our best advice yet, which was our first advice episode since the first one. This is basically the question from Snowy Woodson, who has, the first Snowy Woodson of the two. And I think that's
Clearly the better
enough
Snowy
context
Woodson.
I think that's enough context to understand what's going on.
Yep.
So Snowy Woodson says, he really cuts right to the chase immediately. What's the best way to get started in a new hobby that doesn't involve peeing on things? All of my previous hobbies, including board games, playing the violin, and cooking classic American comfort foods, all involve peeing on things, obviously.
Right.
But I've recently been told by a doctor that I need to limit the amount that I pee recreationally. Please help me find a new hobby that is pee-free. Love, Snowy Woodson. He didn't actually write that end bit. I
Right.
think he would have
Right.
if he'd have known.
He's obviously in love with us, so
Yes.
I think it's fair for you to add that. Thank you for the letter, Snowy, and
Oh man.
that was very funny.
Yeah, it's a lot of. I think it's a lot of fun to do those episodes. Those are some of the best ones.
I think based on the number of clips that I pulled from that episode, that was really one of our best episodes ever, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, easily earns the title Our Best Advice Yet. So, good job to
Yep.
us.
good job,
Um,
us.
all right.
Okay, I'll let you do number 9 here.
Yeah, with that, we'll move on to number 9, which comes from episode 64, which is titled WWWW.
It's 69
It's
W's.
69 W's.
Nice.
I kind of wondered how far you would let me go, but I myself was not prepared to say W 69 times, so...
And by the way, listeners, it's totally unintentional that it's 69 W's.
No, so YouTube's titles can be 100 characters long, and it happens that our, Joel the Podcast episode 64 space is 31, so
Yep.
it's just a happy little accident there, but we'll take
Indeed.
it.
All right, let's do we need any context for this clip?
Honestly, I think this one kind of speaks for itself, so here we go.
All right, let's hear it. My kid started a YouTube channel I did not know about, but it has 1 million subscribers. What should I do?
First of all, hello to my parents. This is obviously about us.
How do you know it's not my parents?
Hello to Alex's parents, if it was Alex's parents.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's just a joke. We have a different number of subscribers, which, I'll leave it to you to decide whether it's higher or lower than 1 million. I think we all know the answer.
Who are we to say whether one number is higher or lower than another number? I honestly, when I was ranking the clips, I forgot that. I remembered the big joke at the end where I said, "Who are we to say whether one number is larger than another?" But I didn't remember the funny bits before it, where it was yeah, hello to my parents, or actually how dumb the question was. That was a very good clip overall, I would say. Very solid number 9.
Yep.
So we move on to number 8.
From episode 58, which was Jeopardy, which is,
right.
definitely within my top 5 episode titles, along with 69 W's and the one that has whatever about jorts in it. That's probably one of my favorites.
You could, but why not wear jorts instead?
Yeah. But anyway, this one comes to us from Jeopardy. We were playing, obviously, the game of Jeopardy. This clip, for context, comes as a question from David, who joined us on that episode, to Alex. You'll hear the question, but it's also important to note that the category of the question was something along the lines of ends in a 3-letter body part. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the exact category.
Ends in a 3-letter body part. So keeping that in mind, here is our clip number 8.
The question is, it's the special type of lens used to produce the effect seen here. I'm going to
I don't know.
start
I don't know what it
10-second
is.
timer.
No, I give
know-
up.
I know what I would say. Can I give an answer? Can I guess?
You can guess, but you won't get any points, any money.
Is it magnifying glass?
That is not correct. The correct answer was, in fact, a fish eye.
What a creative guess. I thought for sure when you said that you were gonna pull out the correct guess, but then it was just magnifying glass. All right.
Oh man. I don't know. Maybe it's not important. I was thinking I should have mentioned probably the reason you didn't get this question in the first place was because it referenced an image and there just wasn't an image.
There was no image. It was like the effect seen here, and it was like
nothing.
Seen where? I can't see anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Although it seems obvious in hindsight, it was obviously not at the time.
Right.
And so, but yeah, we did get that creative, funny answer from you out of that. So
I'm very proud of that on the spot thinking there.
yes. So at the moment, we're gonna take a break in the top 10 for my honorable mention. This clip comes from episode 50, the Apple Heist, which David mentioned as one of his favorites. And this clip is talking about how we're gonna try and steal the apples. So take a listen. Right.
At this point, you've learned the names of all the cashiers. They know you by a fake name, of course.
Right. It's like one letter off from your real name. Nathant Glodspock.
I really can't believe Nathans would steal any apples from us. He's such a good guy. We've known him for such a long time.
What if I told you his real name was Nathan? That son of a bitch! Nice. That is very good.
What a good joke.
Nathant Glodspock. Honestly, that joke alone is funny, and then the add-on. All right.
Great follow-up. Great episode, really. It was
a good episode. I think that was another top 5 of the past year. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's my honorable mention, and let's go back to the list now. So now I get to do 2 in a row. So we this next clip, number 6 on the list, comes to us from episode 30, which was actually the episode before our 1-year anniversary, titled "Just Winging It." And if you remember on our 1-year anniversary, we said we weren't including this episode because we had pretty much already selected all of the clips from by the time we created this episode. So we're including it in our 2-year, even though it was over a year ago, and it does bring us clip number 6. The context for this is that in a previous episode we had been discussing a downside for the superpower of having a photographic memory, and we couldn't think of one. And Ben left a comment on the video mentioning a good drawback. So let's take a listen to clip number 6.
So, good job, Ben. You are
Ben
now
is officially... Huh?
You are. I was about to say Ben's now smarter than we are, and then I almost spilled milk on my laptop again.
It's just perfect. Like the milk spilling is good, and then it's just I'm about to say that Ben is smart. It's just that it's like I couldn't write a funnier line than that.
No, that was some high quality delivery. If I have to say one thing about this clip, it's that it's actually clip number 7, not clip number 6.
Oh, my
What
apologies.
you said beforehand, but that is
My apologies.
That is pretty reasonable to want it to be up there higher though, because that was a good clip. I think it's just that, once we hit, clip number 7, clip number 6, you mentioned this beforehand, but like last year I think we had like a couple good clips. And then
I think we had like the top
off.
3 that were really a step above the rest.
But this year I think it's much closer with this top 10. So
right, I mentioned before my opinion is 1 through 6 are a step above 7 through 10, and I think you would. I don't know if you would agree or would say 1 through 5, but the bottom line is that we have some very good quotes. So. Let's not waste any more time and let's get to the actual clip number 6.
On to the next one for real this time, number 6. This comes to us from episode 74, so pretty recently. This is where we were
weeks ago.
Yeah, this is where we were discussing the top 10 of 2020. It was our last episode of 2020, and we took a look back at everything that had happened during the calendar year, kind of a similar style to this episode. And it produced this gem. I don't think I really need to say a whole lot about it. It speaks for itself again. Here we go.
So number 3 is something I think everyone probably read about in the news, but I thought I'd just read the headline out anyway. A fast radio burst is detected from the magnetar SGR 1935 plus 2154, the first ever detected inside the Milky Way. I think it's pretty self-explanatory why this is considered to be the number 3 top 10 of 2020, or the number 3 of 2020, I guess is the appropriate terminology. Because, this was really a monumental moment in fast radio burst history.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of very, very, very good and very interesting science going on here that we certainly understand. And we assume that you do too.
Right, and we don't really think there's any reason to explain it because, this is kind of, kindergarten level stuff that everyone should know.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to patronize our listeners by presuming that you weren't able to just comprehend what was going on here instantly. So
Right, and also no, and I assume everyone's familiar with Magnetar SGR 1935 plus 2154.
yeah,
So I won't bother going into details on where or what that is.
yeah. But before this event, I'd say that was definitely already in my top 5 favorite Magnetars. But this one really pushed it over the top. Definitely marked it for inclusion in this list. I don't know how we could possibly leave it out after detecting a fast radio burst. That's
Absolutely.
Huge. That's more than huge. That is large.
It's Oh my gosh, that is so funny every time I hear it and even read it on our list here.
Oh,
it's
such
not
a
more than
dumb
huge.
joke.
It's large. I don't know what it is about the word large. Like, if you had said it's more than huge, it's big, it wouldn't have been nearly as funny.
Yeah.
It's just the word large is really...
And that's another clip there. As we were listening to that, I was thinking, like, kind of like the million subscribers clip. It's got that, great joke at the end, but honestly, the lead up to it is quality as well.
I really loved you saying it's in your top 5 Magnetars easily.
Yeah, definitely,
right.
Definitely great to, take a look at that sort of very obvious science that all of our listeners and ourselves clearly know a lot about. So,
Indeed.
As easily as Magnetar, man, I really thought I was gonna, having listened to that clip, I really thought I was gonna be able to rattle off the number just then, but that was
impossible.
clearly a lie.
It's like 3 letters, then 2 5-digit numbers, so it's really difficult to remember unless you're specifically trying to. But I would say whatever numbers those are, we know them because that is one of our favorite Magnetars. Yes. All right, let's move on to the next clip, number 5, rounding out the top half of the list, or I guess starting off the bottom half of the list actually. This clip comes to us from episode 67 titled Interview. In this episode, we were talking about different ways to terribly answer interview questions. And in this clip, I think we're talking about a situation that we wish could have gone differently, and this is a situation that you wish you could have changed to the following thing.
I would have viciously attacked him and completed the sale myself.
With an aluminum baseball bat that I had brought with me.
With an aluminum baseball bat in front of the entire board.
Right.
As they stood in shock and horror, and then I would have turned and delivered the closing line to our sales pitch, which is, signing with us would be a home run. And they would have just absolutely lost it, and I would now be the owner of our company.
Oh, that is so good. Like, I think I added the aluminum bat thing in there, so the fact that you then said the home run joke means you must have come up with that, like, on the fly, which is even more impressive. So,
yep.
Kudos to you. That was very funny.
Thanks. I did my best. I, used my trademark slow kind of pausing speech to think about where I was going next, so that by the time I got there, it was going to be a high quality line one way or another. So,
indeed. So
if you ever notice me, struggling to get my thoughts out on the podcast, it's definitely because I'm thinking of a hilarious joke, which I may or may not eventually say. Sometimes I just think I'll keep it to myself.
Right.
So, a little bit of a behind the scenes look at Joel the podcast there.
Indeed.
Anyway, our next clip. Man, this is number 4. We're really getting up there now.
We are cruising through them. Our number 4 clip comes to us from episode 62 yet again. So this is our second episode 62 clip. It's actually the only clip from the list to be from the same episode as another clip. I guess it's not the only clip, because that's true of both of the clips. Huh. These 2 are the only clips to come from the same episode.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So, once again, this comes from the episode Our Best Advice Yet. I believe at this point in the episode, I have been asked by listener 524 if they can come live with me because I don't really remember why, but I don't think it's important to the clip.
It was because their apartment building was burned down by a demon possessing their oven.
Oh, yeah, that's... Of course. How did I forget?
I have no idea.
So anyway, here's the answer to that, essentially.
I just once again, my address is...
We are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Pod. Sorry to interrupt you here. I thought you said it was last time, but this time you said it was podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, sorry, that's my bad. I moved not too long ago, a couple months now, and it's a very very similar. It just the number and the street name changed as well as the city and state and zip code. So easy to mix the two up, I think.
That is a very well edited clip.
Yeah, we've got some very dense jokes there. I think right back to back. The high quality address mistake line. That was an excellent joke. Great setup.
I think I felt a little bad when I said that because I was like, I don't know how you're gonna edit it to work. But you did a very good job with it. So good job to you, and good job for the climactic joke about how your entire address changed.
It's really easy to get them mixed up when literally every single thing about the address is different. So
Right. Okay. All right. So we're gonna take another break in the top 10 here to hear Nathan's honorable mention. So Nathan, take it away.
All right. So our previous clip came from episode 62. This one comes from episode 61, which is titled "Sharing Our Knowledge." I believe this is our first Quora episode.
I think so.
And so just to give some context to this clip, although it doesn't really need it, we were kind of going rapid fire through some questions, trying to build up to a great finish to the episode. That's definitely not true. This clip is like half an hour before the end of the episode. Forget I said that, but anyway, I said this clip didn't need context and then gave it fake context. So
gave it incorrect context.
I'm just gonna play the clip. Here we go.
All right, here's a question. Let me tee one up for you here.
All right.
What happened 4.5 billion years ago? Go.
In the beginning, there was a mommy universe and a daddy universe. They loved each other so much that they had the literal biggest bang that there has ever been and ever will be.
Nicely done. That's a very good, another very good on your feet joke.
Yeah, this is, I have to say, so this is, the reason this is my honorable mention clip is because I ranked this as the number 2 clip from the past year. And Alex did not agree with that, high ranking, but it's definitely one of my favorites. I was texting Katie yesterday. I don't really remember why, and it's not relevant, so I don't know why I paused to think. But I told her that I was working on gathering all these clips, and obviously, I don't think most of our friends aside from David have been kind of skeptical of the podcast, it's just kind of this dumb thing we do. But I sent her this clip because I thought she would like the the cosmology theme, and she texted me back that she was literally crying from laughing. So I was very proud of the like you said, the on my feet thinking there, and also just really patting myself on the back here is essentially what I'm doing. I'm gonna stop that. I don't like it. So
if we were in the same place, I think this would deserve a pun approved stamp.
Yes, that would have been
So I owe you one pun approved stamp.
excellent. What a proud achievement. So that's the reason why that makes my honorable mention.
All right, so thank you for that, and that brings us to the top 3 clips from Joel the Podcast from the past year. These are all very funny, and we begin with number 3 from episode 37, which is entitled "Today is Wednesday," and this, I believe, was just an Ask Reddit episode. And in this, the lead up to this clip is that we read an Ask Reddit question that was, "Bank tellers of Reddit, what would you do if somebody put bees in the pneumatic tube that goes to the bank teller?" And you mentioned that your plan was just to not open the tube. And I kind of said, well, if you do that, then the tube's going to be unusable for a while because the bees won't just all fly out of it immediately.
Right.
So that's the lead up to this clip. So here we go. Your plan is just to surrender to the bee terrorists and let them win by having their. My plan is to.
No, this is America. We can't let the bee terrorists win.
I think you could put a container of some kind in your end of the tube.
Okay.
And then use the suction to suck all of the bees into your container.
Oh.
And then quickly close it up.
That is quite an idea.
And then, assuming you do this promptly enough, you can send it back to the bee terrorists.
Once you get all the bees, you just put them back in the tube, and
well, obviously they wouldn't open it. I'm saying
you
throw it into their car like a grenade.
Oh yeah, no, that's a way better idea than attempting to use the tube to send all the bees back. Because if there's one thing more improbable than somebody putting bees in the thing, it's somebody putting bees in the thing, sitting there until something comes back, and then going, oh, this isn't bees, I should open my door.
There's no way there are still bees in here. That would be absurd. Nice.
What a premise.
The best line of that is, "This isn't bees."
Oh man.
Nice. All right. That was very good. Let's see what can top it. Give us what can top it.
All right. Coming in at number 2. This is a clip that once again needs absolutely no context, but I'm going to give it a little bit of context, which is that we were trying to come up with frog names for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. This was probably another Ask Reddit or Quora episode or something like that, because the title of the episode is Some Questions. It's episode 51. So let's take a listen to our number 2 clip.
Category 2 is stereotypical frog names. Now, there aren't that many stereotypical frog names, but this is like things you would expect a frog to be named. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but like Greenie, I guess.
Yep,
or
that's the one.
I love
That
the
is so
anticipation leading up to the big reveal of Greenie.
There are no stereotypical frog names, so
Oh man.
that is. But not only is Greenie not a stereotypical frog name, it's not a name that you would give to
It's
to
just
a frog
not a
or
good
any other.
name. It's like they're. Oh man, I love the attitude of like speaking with authority that we take to answer these questions. That's so quickly devolved into just absolute nonsense there.
Right, and it's better when you play it straight. Like instead of laughing, you just go, Yep, that's the one.
That's the one.
which is a good response. All right.
So perfect delivery, good response. That's how you get to number 2 on the list.
Indeed. Now I know all of our listeners are out there thinking, what could possibly top that greeny clip? And let me tell you, that was my number 1 clip, but this is the clip that Nathan and I together ranked the highest. And I have no problem with this being the number 1 clip. It's from episode 72, which was entitled "You Could, but Why Not Wear Jorts Instead?"
All-star title right there.
Yes, and this this episode, I believe, is a Quora episode, and at this point, we're talking about how you can make your popcorn last till the end of the movie.
Yes.
And fair warning, this clip is 5 minutes long, and it could be even longer than that. So strap in, because here is the number 1 clip of the past year for Joel the Podcast.
So, what was it that I learned to make popcorn last the whole movie? Well, let me tell you. It is this one very simple rule. And that is, don't eat your popcorn until the movie is over.
That's actually a foolproof strategy.
This seems counterintuitive, but I assure you that your popcorn will last the whole movie that way.
Right. Okay. So let me just see if I'm understanding your strategy correctly, and correct me if I go wrong anywhere here.
Yep.
So what you do is you go in and you buy the popcorn.
Actually, that's wrong immediately.
Okay.
I stopped buying popcorn a long time ago once I realized that I could just bully the guy behind the counter into giving me popcorn. That's pro tip number 1.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for the clarification. So you go in, you bully the guy.
They're like, yeah, you bully the guy, you're right. I cut you off again, but I really just wanted to hammer this home. They're most likely a minimum wage employee, and if you give them enough shit, it's not worth it for them anymore. They'll just give you popcorn because popcorn costs like 10 cents.
All right, so you bring an aluminum bat.
Yes.
And you bully the worker into giving you popcorn. All right,
yes,
so
absolutely.
we're together so far. All right, so you go into the theater.
Yep.
Right, you sit down.
Yep.
And the previews start. And what you do is you eat a little bit of popcorn.
Okay.
Right?
See, I knew this was going to happen.
Right, okay, what's the problem?
You are so close.
Okay.
You were with me all the way up until the very end there, and then you started eating popcorn, and let me tell you, that is the number 1 trap. If you want to eat your popcorn throughout the whole movie, don't eat any of the popcorn.
Well, the question doesn't ask how to eat it throughout the entire movie. It's how to have it last until the end of the movie. But I get your point.
Yeah, all right, sure. So there's some semantics there to kind of work through.
Right.
But
okay, so the preview started and you don't eat the popcorn.
You don't eat the popcorn. That's right.
Okay. So all right. So let me start over. So you go in.
Yes.
Bully the guy into getting the popcorn.
Absolutely.
Go in, sit down. Preview start. You don't eat the popcorn.
Correct.
Then the actual movie starts.
Yes.
So then you eat the popcorn.
So okay. Oh man, we were so close. I love this effort. This is so good. We're gonna take one step back.
This is honestly so confusing. I cannot understand this strategy.
All right. I'm gonna lead you to it. Here we go.
Okay.
Step 1.
Yep.
We go in the theater.
Yes, I'm with you there.
We walk up to the counter.
Yep.
Bat in hand, of course.
Yep.
Right.
Obviously.
Guy's behind the counter. He's like, "Can I help you, sir?" What do you say?
Give me the popcorn, you piece of shit.
Very good. Very good. He will give you the popcorn because he does not give a damn. He is making $7 an hour whether or not he gets robbed.
Right.
He hands over the popcorn bucket. It's brimming with popcorn. Not enough to last the whole movie if you were going to eat it throughout the movie.
Right.
But
fair enough.
That's the problem we're trying to solve. All right.
Right.
You've got your popcorn bucket.
I've got it.
You are feeling like a winner. Let me hear you say
I am a winner.
You are a winner.
I'm a winner.
You're a winner. All right. You go in, you sit down.
Right.
You reach your hand in the bucket.
Absolutely, that's what I do.
You grab some popcorn.
Yes.
You bring it up to your mouth.
Right, and then I eat it.
No, you don't eat it. Oh man! All right, I see where I went wrong. I feel like this is a learning moment for both of us. I should not have gone to the mouth with the popcorn.
Right.
That was setting you up for failure, and that's my fault.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, you're saying you don't eat it?
You do not eat the popcorn. You've got to sit there, and you've got the popcorn on your lap. You can feel the warm, buttery popcorn
Right. So
sitting
I
there in the bowl.
Right.
But
So
you're
I think
not eating.
let me guess what happens here.
All
So
right.
I think I'm kind of getting it, right? So you have the warm buttery popcorn in your lap, and
Yep.
we've just established that you do not want to eat it. So
You do want to eat it. You want to eat it very much, but you know you
the
can't.
strategy is to not eat it.
Yes.
Right. So you don't put your hand in there.
Yes.
Right. That's what you would do if you were going to eat it.
Yes.
We're not going to eat it.
Correct.
So what you would do
Yep.
is you would, during the previews, obviously, because you wouldn't want to miss any of the actual movie, you just lower your face into the popcorn and don't use your hands and then eat it. Yeah, that's enough of that clip for now, but
Yeah.
if you really want, just go listen to the entire end of that episode from about an hour to the end. It is hilarious.
Yeah, the reason I ranked this as my top clip, and the reason why I'm really glad this makes it as the top clip overall, that was probably one of, if not the most fun moment of making the podcast that I can remember. Of just playing along with that bit for so long, of just over and over, just getting right up to the edge there, and then just ruining it.
I was so glad that because when I had that idea, I'm like, oh, I don't know if he's gonna be able to roll with this well enough,
Yeah.
But it was perfect execution on both ends. I don't know if we dragged it out for too long. I think if we had finished it at that about 5 minutes or shortly thereafter, that would have been good.
Yeah.
Because I think it went a little bit off the rails after that, but still, it is. Yeah, I'm absolutely not upset about that making the number one clip. So
Yeah.
good job,
some
us
great
again.
improv, great content, hilarious joke. Like you said,
and hopefully
executed very well.
Hopefully we'll be able to come up with stuff that funny going forward.
Yeah, that's the dream. Really, is just this list of 10 things. We want that to be just the new standard. Essentially, for the next year, here's what you can expect, listeners. You can expect us to repeat those 10 jokes over and over again for the entire next year.
Indeed. Okay. That is the end of our top 10 list. Send us an email. Let us know what you thought of the list, what you thought the number 1 through 10 clips were, whether you thought we did a bad job. And let's conclude the podcast by making some predictions for the upcoming year of Joel the Podcast. So,
as is tradition.
Prediction number 1: yes or no? Will we be podcasting 1 year from now?
I think this is the easiest yes of the podcast. Of course, we will be podcasting 1 year from now.
Absolutely.
I think it might be a more interesting question to consider 5 or 10 years from now, but that takes the fun out of those future.
Right. The tough part is we don't ever have any plans to stop podcasting.
Yeah.
But I don't think we will be podcasting in 40 years.
Yeah,
So
what's
the hard part is
what's
saying,
the life event that is really going to stop this?
When will it just peter out? I don't know.
Right.
So we'll see. Maybe we won't be podcasting in 40 years.
Yeah, maybe
but,
it'll
yeah.
take off. Maybe this is the year.
Maybe
This
it
the
is.
year
So
where we quit our jobs and podcast full time from.
that'll lead into the next prediction.
Yeah.
How many subscribers in 1 year will we have?
In 1 year, I think we will have 30 subscribers. I'm going to be very pessimistic for this year's prediction because, number one, I think it'll be hilarious when we fail to meet even that mark. And
Rip.
number two, I kind of, like I said, we kind of plateaued at 23. We recently increased to 24, but I don't know.
I would say that I think our recent increase to 24 is a sign of things to come. And I'm
Okay.
going to predict that by January 26, 2022, we will have 40 subscribers
All right.
that are
And
not
if,
us. So 42 42 total.
If you're listening to this and you're not subscribed, go ahead and do your part just to make Alex look smarter than I am. Because
Indeed.
in that scenario we both win. So there you go.
Indeed, we do.
You don't often hear us say it straight up, but
prediction number 3. How many live shows will we have? And by live, I mean you and I are in the same location.
Right.
In the next year.
I think this is the year where we actually have 2 live shows. I mean, I feel like it's a given that there will be one, because even during the pandemic, we managed to work it out in a reasonably safe way. Don't worry, listeners, but we did manage to meet up. I think it would be reasonable to expect that we have a live show where this time I do the traveling, and I think we might also have a live show. We might able to have a live show where both of us do the traveling, and we do something kind of like what we initially envisioned and were hoping to do.
Right. Absolutely. So I would agree with that prediction. I think we'll have 2 live shows in the next year.
Yep.
And we'll see where that goes. So let's then make a prediction. So I think those are basically what we said of our last year's predictions. So let's make a new prediction. Because today we released our first ever Alex and Alex sketch.
Yep.
Predict how many more, could be 0. How many more sketches will we release? Not counting bloopers as anything. It's just like how many new sketches will we release?
Right. Within the next year, I think the ceiling for that is honestly, if we're predicting 2 live shows, I think at most 2, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not even that. I don't know. It's difficult to do them in separate places. I know we've discussed the potential to do that. And so that's not, obviously that's not out of the question. I don't know. This is probably honestly the one that I have actually no idea on. If it turns out that people watch the sketch and they're like, "Hey, this was pretty good. You should try and do more like this." I could easily see us, making an active effort to do it. But if we just get, 0 response, I feel like we'll probably do 1 or 2 more just because we thought it was fun to do.
Right.
But I really, I don't see it taking off without some encouragement.
I think it's a decent analysis. I would say that you mentioned the ceiling being 2. I think the ceiling is 10.
Yeah.
I don't think we would do more than 10 or.
Okay. Really, yeah, I mean that's fair. One a month, a little bit less than that maybe.
Right. So I do think it's not, since the sketch is really mostly just us sitting across the table talking to each other, I don't think it would be that different to make a sketch us Skyping talking to each other.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, our number 1 highlight is sort of it was like an improvised sketch. So I could see us doing more stuff like that.
I can see us doing a bunch more. I think we'll do almost for sure at least 1 more. Probably 2 more.
Okay.
I would say my prediction is going to be 3. I think we'll do 3 sketches between now and the 3-year anniversary. What's your prediction?
Yeah, to give a more solid number, I'm really thinking, I don't know. I really struggle to say more than 2, and I'm a little tempted even just to say 1, just because I know how
we are.
Yeah. The other one took us a while to put together. So,
yep.
Even if we have a goal of making a couple, we'll probably get to 1 is kind of my realistic take. So, that's my prediction.
Fair enough. All right. And do you have any other ideas for any final predictions?
One thing, I don't think we mentioned this at all, but over the course of listening to all of our episodes, we came across every instance of us playing Joel the game.
Right.
And we finally pulled together the official scoreboard. And unfortunately, the score is currently 5-2 in favor of Alex.
Everyone's clapping right now. Woo! I can hear it in my head.
Clapping in sadness,
Woo, go
I'm
Alex!
sure. So that being said, where I wanted to go with this, my prediction is, what will, we've recently changed the rules of the game, so that might shake things up a little bit. What will the score look like in 1 year?
Right. I think the way we changed the rules makes it more even. I think the way it was before, it's kind of much more luck based, because if you just happen to win the game that comes up when the 40-point bump comes in, then you'll be much more set up to win the game.
Yeah, you're in good shape.
But now that we've changed it to be much more balanced, I think it'll probably be fairly even, is my guess.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna guess that we'll play the game maybe. Let's see, we played it. You said we played it 7 times this year, and we created it this year.
Yep.
So let's say we'll play it 10 times in the next year. That seems maybe on the high side, but
I don't know. I think 10 sounds pretty fair.
I'll say it'll be 6-4 in your favor, just for the sake of evening it out. So the final will be 8-11, 11-8 by this time next year in my favor. What do you think?
All right. That would actually be 9-8 in your favor, because you currently only have 5.
Right. I was doing bad math. 9-8.
Yep. 9-8. All right. Yeah. No. I liked your reasoning with 10 games. That sounds about right to me. It could honestly even be a little bit higher, depending on with our new scoring format. Nobody's ever going to go down.
Right, it might be faster.
It might be faster. We might end up playing 2 games per episode. I think we might see 15 or maybe even 20 instances of the game in the next year. So I think, just for the sake of variety, I'm gonna tailor my estimate based on that. So let's say we play 20 games in the next year. Current score is 2-5. So obviously I'm predicting a 22-5 final score. I'm about to just absolutely go off. So
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait for your prediction to be wrong the literal first game we play when I win.
Oh man, but just imagine the suspense if I win the first 3 or 4 in a row. And
it'll be every single time it'll become a huge deal.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Is he gonna win again? Yeah, so
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the next time we play the game with the amended rules. I think that'll be
me too.
A good test of our changes.
I agree.
So
all right. I think that's it for this episode. Wow, we're at 1:22. I did not expect it to be that long. Although some of it's going to be cut out, so it may not be 1:22 in the end, but
yeah.
Probably still pretty long. So thanks for listening, everybody, and thank you for listening for the past year. We really do appreciate it. To all those who have emailed us, really just cephalopod, thank you for emailing us. And for all those who came on the podcast, thank you. And again, send us an email and let us know what you want to hear in the coming year. So that about wraps it up. I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this has been Joel.